You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
And today on this Weight Loss Wednesday episode, I'm going to bring you what to do when diet and exercise don't work. Meaning like they've worked for a little bit of time, they've helped you lose a little bit of weight, but now you've plateaued, and no matter what diet you do, no matter what exercise program you do, you're not getting those results. You don't lose any more weight, and that can be extremely frustrating. Now, this episode came about because I just saw someone in my practice just yesterday, and she was so extremely frustrated. She was in her early 50s. She has now tried a carb-based diet, a paleo-based diet, a keto-based diet, really elimination. She's tried many, many different diets, and each one of those diets, she said, has helped her lose about 5 pounds that first week to maybe second week, and then after that, it's plateaued, okay? So it's really important to look at, and I know this is really frustrating for so many people, they just say like, oh, you just need to eat less, right? You just need to exercise more. That's not the case for everyone. Yes, most people do eat too many calories. That is absolutely true. If you're trying to lose weight and you're eating over, let's say, 2,000, 2,100 calories per day, you're probably eating your maximum. Meaning like if you're eating 3,000, you are going to need to take back your calories because your body right now most likely has enough energy to use on its own where it should be tapping into more body fat. So you have to look at it a little bit more strategically. And the reason I say that too is a lot of the foods that I'm recommending that do help people lose weight, it's a lot of food on my nutrition plan. You get to eat a lot, but they're very nutrition-dense based foods that are not high caloric. And that's very important to look at as well. Like protein, a lot of vegetables, good fats. They're more thermogenic and they're not as high in calories. Yes, eating too many fats is very high in calories. Like it's so easy to eat 150 grams of fat per day. Like it's very, very simple. Literally, it's about 3 tablespoons of fat per meal. And that will take you well over what? If that's 10, over 1,200 calories per day. Like that's really easy. And that's why you have to be somewhat careful with fats. They are important. We do need them, but, do we need 400 calories at each meal of fat? It's really a very questionable thing. Meaning like if you're not very active, because fat is a very high calorie food, which means it's a very high energy food, do you need that much? And exercise wise, let me just mention this before I do get into when exercise and when diet's not enough, is that do make sure that you are actually doing the right type of exercise. And really the right type of working out for losing weight is, again, making sure that you're not doing cardio for, let's say, 5 days a week for 60 minutes or more at a time. That's fine for burning calories, but it's catabolic, which means you're going to burn up your metabolism, going to burn up some muscle. It's not great for weight loss. You really should be weight training, even if it's just with your own body weight, doing squats and lunges and step-ups, all those things. You should be doing that. And I would even recommend weights with that so that you just stave off sarcopenia and muscle loss. And I would do that at least 3 times a week. So I would do like on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Again, a great workout week would be like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday, and then pick a weekend day where you can be active doing something, whether it's traditional like in the gym or whether it's rock climbing or biking or whatever it might be. Because I know a lot of people are busy. There's a lot of social things going on the weekend, but do try to even maybe get in just kind of a bodyweight workout or a Tabata workout on a Saturday, especially if you're doing a cheat meal that night. So if you're not doing that for exercise, you do need to up your exercise. Like that does actually matter. And cardio is not a weight loss tool. It's a good cardiovascular tool, a good aerobic tool for keeping your endurance up. And it's good for maybe the heart and lungs. Don't overdo it, but it's totally fine, but not a great metabolic booster. Okay, so you've got your diet down, you're doing your exercise. You're like, all right, I'm already doing that. So why can't I lose weight? Well, here's why. So it goes well beyond the calories in, calories out for a lot of people, all right? Especially the endomorphic or kapha body type. This is the body type with larger joints, meaning like they have bigger calves, they have a rounder head, they have a thicker body, just naturally, right? Just genetically. We know there's body types, right? Ayurveda knew this 10,000 years ago. We know it today. Today we call it the ectomorph, the mesomorph, and the endomorph. And in Ayurvedic times, they called the Vata, the Pitta, and the Kapha. And the ectomorph, well, they don't even really need to exercise to lose weight. They really don't. And they can pretty much eat almost any food that they would like, especially carbohydrates. Now, the endomorph, they hate those people because they're like, how can you not exercise and eat whatever you want and still not gain weight? Like, they're just polar opposites in terms of their genetics and even their psychophysiological qualities as well, which we're not going to get into today. So those exist. I understand that. Mainly, we're talking about the endomorph. But with that, you have to understand that there are so many other things that can be going on in the body besides diet and exercise that could be preventing you from losing weight. Remember, if your body feels it's under stress in any format, if it's in a survival-based mode, if it's sympathetic nervous system dominant, which means fight or flight, it is in survival mode and it has no interest in helping you lose weight because it is in survival mode, and it would be very happy if you kept more weight on your body because that will help you get through harder times. Remember, our genetics are built in. They are predisposed to many millennia ago to keep us alive. And the endomorph has a very strong immune system. They have a very strong body with being able to do that. And they have a predisposition also to lower thyroid. So you do want to check your thyroid to make sure your TSH, which again on blood lab work, like a 4.5, 5 is still normal. That's not normal in functional medicine. That means you have a lowered thyroid, lower metabolic rate. And you're going to want to check your cortisol levels, right? Because higher cortisol means that you're in that fight or flight, you're in that sympathetic nervous system, and inflammation's eventually going to go up. So you need to look at the inflammatory levels. I like looking at the omega-3 levels for that as well. It's a simple test. You poke your blood. I honestly believe everyone over 40 years old should do an inflammation-based test. And even if you're under, it can customize the amount of omega-3s you're taking. But all you do is literally poke your finger. You put blood drops on a card and you get to see exactly how many omega-3s are in your blood and how much omega-6s are in your blood. And if you have a 9% or greater saturation of your blood of omega-3s, you have a 90% risk reduction rate for cardiovascular death. It's unbelievable, the statistic. All you have to do is get 9% in your blood. You have 90% risk reduction rate. So, and that's, again, research-based, of course, and an amazing, amazing test. So, again, you're looking at inflammation, you're looking at cortisol levels, you're looking at thyroid levels, so we're talking about hormones, right? Hormones for the most part right now. But beyond that now, let's look beyond hormones, and let's look at your gut function. What happens if you're eating 2,000 calories a day, but your body is only absorbing 600 or 700 calories of that because you have a weakened digestive system? Don't you think that every calorie you put in your body's going to want to hold on to more of that because it can't extract the minerals and vitamins in the same way? Of course. Your body believes that it's essentially starving because it's starving of nutrition. It's not starving of calories, but it is starving of nutrition. Okay? So beyond the thyroid, beyond the cortisol, we're also looking at absorption of nutrients. So a good enzyme, it's a great place to start. Maybe some good ginger tea at a meal to help digest proteins. But also, what about adding in some enzymes to help break down the foods? That will help tremendously. Doing smoothies for some of the meals instead of actual whole food meals until you improve that gut function. Because a smoothie is pre-digested food. You're putting your meal in, your veggies, some fruit, some good all-in-one protein, blend it up, you get all your nutrition right there. I see that work better than anything else in my practices to start your day that way. There's a reason why I give that recommendation. There's a reason why I do it myself. There's a reason why my parents, I tell them to do it. There's a reason why everyone that I work with, you have to do this because nothing has ever gotten better results in my practice, but I digress. Well, there's two more things. So I want to leave you two more things. Some people have larger amounts of bacterial overgrowth or yeast overgrowth in their body. That's causing inflammation. That's causing a large immune-based response from an IgE perspective, from an IgG perspective, and from usually a Th2 immune branch perspective. So when those things happen, that can lead to inflammation. That can also lead to increased cortisol, and then eventually the body can burn out. You can have low cortisol levels, right? And with that can come lowered progesterone. So females do have to they have to really look at this matters a lot. You have to look at your hormones. You have to look at your estrogen to progesterone levels. If you have high levels of estrogen, or even just normal levels of progesterone, right? Like a lot of women too going through menopause, normal levels of estrogen, right? But they have lower levels of progesterone. So it makes it look like they're estrogen dominant. That's a big one. Estrogen dominance when really, in fact, their estrogen is normal, but they still have estrogen dominance because it's dominant over progesterone, because their progesterone is low, usually because it is a precursor to cortisol. And that means your body will take cortisol and needs cortisol for that survival-based hormone, that fight or flight-based hormone, over progesterone. So your body will give up progesterone to make cortisol. So again, when you're looking at the grand scheme of things, it's not just diet, it's not just exercise, but you have to start there. If you haven't done an elimination-based diet, if you haven't done a detox, if you haven't included those 3 days a week of weight training, hopefully with at least one other day of at least interval-based work, you have to start there, right? So if you haven't done that, do that. Start there, because that's the starting point. That's how we get clients' results. And then, literally, that works for 99 out of 100 people. So again, it's really very small percentage. That 100th person then has to look at these cortisol-based levels, these thyroid-based levels, these absorption-based levels. Now, do the other people have these issues as well? Yes, but usually the detox, usually the elimination diet, the low-inflammatory diet plan, the 3 to 4 days of workouts per week. Again, you can do more, but just not the long-distance cardio. Usually that takes care of all the hormone-based issues. Usually you don't have to worry about that. That's why you don't have to run all the other labs. But if those labs need to be run, they need to be run. You need to run an adrenal hormone-based lab, which is going to look at your cortisol-based levels. You need to look at your blood work or send out for a thyroid-based test. And you need to look at your gut function, right? You need to look at those things, because then, so how I help my weight loss, basically people that I care for my practice, is I find out why diet and exercise aren't working. And there's always a reason why. And I will help this woman that just came into my practice like I've helped the thousands of people that have come before her. And that's what the great thing is that I told her, and she was a little upset by it. I said, you don't need to go to a new diet. You don't need to find a new diet, because there isn't one out there. And she got upset by that. I want to let her know, but that should not upset you. I said, you've done a fantastic job. You really have. You've done everything that you could do, and you deserve to be commended for that, because you put in the work. Now, the frustrating part is you have to now, again, this isn't the frustrating part. The frustrating thing is you feel like you've done everything, but it hasn't worked. Now, the good news is none of that is your fault. You did what you need to do. Now you need to look at the underlying imbalances, the potential thyroid, the potential cortisol, the potential absorption issues, and the potential gut dysfunction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a case study. I'm going to be back in about 12 weeks from now after we put her on a specific plan, and I'm going to tell you about how this specific plan worked for her, what her imbalances were. And so that may actually give you hope. That may give you the understanding that there's hope for everyone, that no one needs to not be able to lose weight, that there is a plan for every single person on the planet right now that's suffering and struggling with weight loss-based issues. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral Concept. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.